We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Judith Imera, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region on today's headlines. Indonesia on Monday reported its first confirmed cases of coronavirus after health officials in the world's fourth most populous country hit back at questions over its apparent lack of infected patients. Cambodia's multi-billion-dollar garment industry is at risk of chain disruption from the deadly coronavirus, its strongman premier said on Monday. And workers snapped the miniature rocket's wings into place as Indonesia's little-known space agency readies its latest launch on barren scrubland in East Java. Indonesia on Monday reported its first confirmed cases of coronavirus after health officials in the world's fourth most populous country hit back at questions over its apparent lack of infected patients. A 64-year-old woman and her daughter, 31, tested positive for the virus at a Jakarta hospital, said Health Minister Terawan Agus Putranto. Officials said that the pair may have been in close contact with a Japanese national who has since tested positive after returning to neighboring Malaysia. Last month, Indonesia criticized a U.S. study that questioned why the Southeast Asian archipelago of more than 260 million, which has strong links to China, had not recorded a case of the virus. The World Health Organization said it was particularly concerned about high-risk nations with weaker health systems, who may lack the facilities to identify cases. The global death toll from the new coronavirus epidemic surpassed 3,000 on Monday, after dozens more died at its epicenter in China, and cases soared around the world with a second fatality on U.S. soil. The WHO says the virus appears to particularly hit those over the age of 60 and people already weakened by other illness.
Orang yang telah terkena virus corona ini berhubungan dengan dua orang. Seorang ibu yang umurnya 64 tahun dan putrinya yang berumur 31 tahun. Dicek dan tadi pagi saya mendapatkan laporan dari Pak Menteri Kesehatan bahwa ibu ini dan putrinya positif corona. Minggu yang lalu ada informasi bahwa ada orang Jepang yang ke Indonesia, kemudian tinggal di Malaysia dan dicek di sana ternyata positif corona. Tim dari Indonesia langsung menelusuri.
Meanwhile, a Thai man has died from complications that doctors say were due to the deadly coronavirus, though health officials were reluctant on Monday to conclusively confirm the cause of his death. We have more details from Cristel Pereira. Watch this.
The coronavirus continues to spread around the globe, and here in Thailand, our country has recorded its first coronavirus death. The 35-year-old retail worker had dengue fever and the new disease known as COVID-19. Suwanachai Watanayin Charanchai, Director General of the Department of Disease Control, said in a briefing Sunday. The patient had been hospitalized for nearly a month and died on February 29 after multiple organ failure. He said that this was a case of local transmission and he was at risk because he had exposure to Chinese tourists. Dr. Suwanachai said the Public Health Ministry is still looking into the role played by the coronavirus in the fatality. Tawi Chotpitayasu Non, the department advisor, said the patient had tested negative for the virus since February 16, but the damage was already done to his body from the infection. The Department of Disease Control said another patient was in serious condition at Bamrasnare Dura, and doctors at the institute are closely monitoring the patient. The department repeated a warning on Sunday that any person suspected of contracting the virus are required to contact public health officials within 3 hours, according to the dangerous communicable disease announcement that took effect on Sunday.
The announcement, signed by Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul and published in the Royal Gazette on Saturday, also gave authorities more power to combat the spread of the virus. Reporting from Bangkok, Thailand, this is Lady Cristal Pereira, and I am one with 25.
In the Philippines, over 8,400 overseas Filipino workers or OFWs affected by the temporary travel ban to China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau received financial assistance amounting to more than 84 million pesos from the government. The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA reported on Monday. In a statement, the attached agency of the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE said that as of 7:38 a.m. on Monday, a total of 84.48 million were given to 8,448 recipients nationwide. Though the release of cash assistance has been ordered stop for workers bound for Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau after the travel ban has been lifted for OFWs. The giving out of financial aid to workers bound for China is still ongoing. The assistance aims to help stranded OFWs ease their burden and assist them back to their places of origin during the travel ban amid the continuous threat of the coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19. The fund was sourced from the OWA Trust Fund of member OFWs. The cash assistance was distributed through OWA regional welfare offices. Meanwhile, OWA advised affected Filipino workers to China to visit 2 venues in Pasay City to claim their cash aid in the amount of 10,000 pesos this week. The distribution venues in the National Capital Region are at the Function Hall of Cuneta Astrodome from March 2 to 4 and Room 310, Pezo Training Room of Pasay City Hall from March 5 to 6. The distribution of cash assistance started on February 3 for China, Hong Kong, and Macau-bound OFWs, and February 13 for OFWs going to Taiwan. Travel ban to Taiwan was lifted on February 15. It was last February 19 when OFWs bound for Hong Kong and Macau were given the go signal to fly to the said territories. The OWA instructed its regional offices to cease the processing of application for cash assistance of Hong Kong and Macau-bound OFWs last February 20. Aside from cash assistance, OWA regional offices also provided transportation assistance. The OWA NCR, the transit point of OFWs coming from other regions, disbursed transport aid to stranded OFWs. In other news, Malaysia's new Prime Minister insisted Monday he was no traitor after taking power without an election and with support from a scandal-tainted party following political heavyweight Mahathir Mohamad's shock resignation. In a televised address, Muhyiddin Yassin said he knows there are those who are angry with him. He is not a traitor, his first extensive comments since being inaugurated on Sunday. He also added he has a clear conscience and he is there to save the country from being battered by continued political uncertainty. Malaysia was plunged into turmoil after Mahathir's reformist Pact of Hope alliance, which stormed to a historic poll victory 2 years ago, collapsed and the 94-year-old resigned as premier. Mahathir then sought to come back as prime minister but lost out to low profile. Former Interior Minister Muhyiddin, who has backing from a coalition dominated by the multiracial country's ethnic Malay Muslim majority. He was named to the job by the king, who appoints the Southeast Asian nation's premier after deciding who has the most support from MPs. But there has been widespread anger that the democratically elected government was ejected, while Mahathir insists he had enough backing to be premier and has accused Muhyiddin of betrayal.
Net25 is now available on OSN, the largest entertainment network in the Middle East and North Africa.
Watch your favorite Net25 shows on OSN channel 725, same day as the Philippines.
Net25 shows live and on demand
Anytime, anywhere,
on any mobile device on OSN Play.
Welcome back. Malacanang will not stop Philippine Ambassador to U.S. Jose Manuel Romualdez from holding discussions with the U.S. counterparts about another possible military deal between the Philippines and the United States that could replace the scrapped Visiting Forces Agreement, or the VFA. Presidential spokesperson and chief of Presidential Legal Counsel, Salvador Panelo, said Romualdez is free to hold meetings with U.S. counterparts on the matter because it is part of diplomacy.
Or maybe a similar new deal. Will there be instruction from the palace?
Part. Anyway, all those are exploratory.
Panelo dismissed the discussions as exploratory talks since President Rodrigo Duterte has not given him the authority to negotiate with his counterpart, the U.S. ambassador to the Philippines, Sung Kim, to craft a new military agreement between the two countries. He said these talks could be of future use, but he did not elaborate what he meant by it. Meanwhile, he maintained that Duterte remains firm in his decision to terminate the VFA and eventually the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, or the MDT, and the 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or the EDCA, with the U.S.